1, 2. Okay. So, hello everyone. Thank you so much for sticking around. It's been a quite long day, and it's very hard to top up this like super interactive presentation from before. So we've got only 10 minutes, and I'll try to make them worth it. So this presentation has a premise of a joke as a title, and I need to deliver the punchline, and I like to deliver my promises. So let's see if that works, or if I need to go to the... Okay. So an LLM walks into a data warehouse, and then it asks, which tables should I join? In other words, it needs the guidance, it needs the instructions on how to navigate around the data warehouse. In other words, semantics. But before we get into that, let me do some quick intros. I'm Georgios Ntanakas. I'm a director of data engineering at GWI. GWI is a company that is helping other companies understand their audiences through consumer research data by running survey from real humans. As for myself, I started from modeling airflows, and then I transitioned to data flows, which turned out to be equally turbulent. I like to be involved into all stages of the data lifecycle, from ingestion and up until to insights. And of course, like everyone these days, I like to play a bit with AI, which is what we're going to be discussing today. Before I get into that, let me be the boring guy. By the way, the character here is going to follow us. He started from the previous slide, and he's going to follow us for the rest of the presentation. So I would like to be the boring guy in the, not room, like auditorium, and talk about foundations before I talk about AI. So we cannot ignore having governance in place in our data or data platform, having quality in place, having a dimensional model, because eventually, if AI finds a chaos in terms of data, it will not help us. It will just try to automate it, and actually it's going to be a bit worse, because it's going to try to, it's going to be very confident about wrong data that it has in. So several data teams these days, including ours, might find themselves spending a lot of time into small asks from the business. They might have tickets piling up, and also there is data that we have in the warehouse, which is still in good quality, but mostly unexplored because nobody's asking about it. At the same time, LLMs are becoming scary fast, scary good, and also the tooling is maturing a bit. So what if we could break this cycle? What if we could ask like all these relatively easy business questions to an LLM without any SQL, without any tickets, and unblock our analysts, do a little bit of like the deeper analysis they would need to be doing, ask kind of the bigger questions. So that's what we figured, and then everything started from a hackathon. So the BI engineering team tried to do that actually, and then with the white you see a basic data pipeline with an ingestion, storage, and transformation, and then insights. But they connected the database and the transformation tool, which has some of the metadata, to an LLM, and it worked. So you asked the question, and then you got SQL back, which was nice, but the SQL was right sometimes, or most of the times, but relatively accuracy was low. So what we learned from this experience was that the problem, at least these days, is not getting SQL out of natural language or text. It's getting it right. So we wanted to build something like this, or we wanted to have something like this to be more precise. And we followed a very scientific algorithm to come into the decision of whether to buy or build. But jokes aside, the math behind this is that we did not have any AI engineering expertise within the team. The team's focus is not text to SQL, it's delivering data insights to the business. We couldn't wait, of course. We didn't want to invest this much of time to develop something like this. And of course, we didn't want to maintain this. We didn't want to think about like LLMs changing, becoming better, thinking about performance degradation, and so on. So the decision was relatively easy, and we decided to buy. So we ended up with a tool called Secoda, and look at all those pink lines here and comparing it to what we had before. So now, apart from the storage itself, and the transformation and the metadata, we could connect our ingestion tool, we could connect our reporting tool, so the AI has an overview of how the data is moving across the layers of the data warehouse. And on top of this, we had the semantic layer, which is what we're gonna discuss in the next slide, a business glossary, and system instructions. So kind of trying to polish the experience for the users by importing their very specific instructions on how the LLM should behave. So I think part of the secret sauce we had was treating the LLM as a new joiner. And think about it a bit. When you have a new joiner, you flood them with documentation, you're holding onboarding meetings with them, and the idea was kind of the same. The execution was different, though, for the LLM. So we're starting from the basics. Like, this table contains customers' data. This column is the one for revenue. And then you have the semantic layer, which is kind of the bridge between the business metrics that the company is interested on and the SQL that derives those metrics through the data warehouse. And of course, we needed to give the business glossary, which is all the company jargon that we have within the company itself. So FY stands for UK's financial year. ACG APO is totally not made up Easter egg that I put into the presentation. So while we were trialing the tool, this message appeared in one of the Slack channels from our VP of Revenue. A final thought is on how we think about privacy. How can we control who can access what information? Is it at source or within a tool? And from there, like by having a non-technical person thinking, and revenue also, thinking about privacy got into our mind. We worked with the vendor quite closely, and it was not easy. Not everything was perfect from the beginning, so there was quite a bit of back and forth in the trial to enforce the following principles. The first one is like, the LLM should inherit the permissions of the user. It cannot see anything more than the user can from the database. Also, any PII is protected, so we do not expose any personal information, names, addresses, and so on. Not in the text output, not in export, CSV, anywhere. So the idea was trying to build trust for the users, which I know might seem a bit bureaucratic in the beginning, but eventually, once it's set up right, it's allowing the team to move faster down the line. And once we launched, despite that we had in mind business users when developing this, unblocking them and removing, like getting them a bit further away from the analyst, so we give analysts a bit of space. Eventually, the analysts became the power users based on the data that we see. So they use it daily, first of all, especially for teams like the setup we have, where the analysts are embedded within the business domains, a bit away from the core data engineering team that's maintaining the data warehouse. It's a very nice tool for them to explore where the data is. They use it also for pair programming for SQL. They either start with their own SQL, go within the tool to verify whether it's right, or they go into the tool and say, okay, give me the baseline of where should I start my analysis. And also lately, the tool is becoming so powerful that it can also generate dashboards, entire dashboard for a specific domain. Let's say I want to explore a specific product feature. And I can have a dashboard for that. I hit the button a bit earlier. So another key thing is being transparent for the limitations, because it is AI, and it's really bad that it cannot be right all the time. What's worse is letting this for the users to discover themselves. So we said that properly. We said some of the times the answers will not be correct. You should know this. So we try to set up the use case for when to use it. Use it when you want to do a quick exploration, do a sanity check into an idea, play with an experiment that you want to do. But if you want to give a graph to the board meeting, take it from a Tableau dashboard. If you want to make a critical decision, please verify first the results with an analyst. So overall, we had this kind of transparency, and we keep communicating about whether the limitations are, what are we trying to fix to make it as more polished as possible. I don't think it will ever be at 100% of accuracy. So here's a very, very small example just to demo how it looks. So we start from a question, right? what were our top 3 markets geographically for the last quarter. There is no SQL, there is no ticket, it's just a user can go into the system and just ask as it would be asking a colleague. What is really powerful is that while the model is reasoning, one can go into all these steps and see what it's doing, which business metrics it's exploring, maybe which of the semantic layer bits it's checking, and also the SQL itself. And as you might be, I don't know if I can point, as you might be able to look here, because we mentioned geographic regions, the model knows that it's probably a good idea to go and join with that team countries region table, which has standardized data for this. It also knows that it needs to, for example, take only the activated sales from the sales transactions table, or exclude the, oops, okay. So, or exclude the canceled ones, or remove this very custom account name. It's the knowledge an onboarded analyst would have for that system. And finally, the result is a bit like this. For this one, it's text. It can also give you data as for you to export and do analysis in a Google Sheet, for example, or even charts. And from our previous week, if you want some data, we had like around 50 charts, and the estimation from the tool was around 100 hours. I'm not claiming victory just yet, because we just launched it, so I want to see a bit more. But the early results are quite promising on that. Last but not least, I couldn't end up without a forward-looking slides. So this is a couple of things that I think will happen, but I want them to happen as well. So the first one is semantic layer portability. Once you define your semantic layer, you don't want to do that again if you decide to change your transformation tool or change the LLM that you're using. And the same goes for data tools. So once you create a connector for your ingestion tool or your reporting tool, this process took time for us. It was quite custom. I would love this to be more standardized, kind of a USB-C where you plug and play this type of information. And of course, what is already starting to happen is not having a tool to just ask business questions, but package this tool package it as a tool to an agent that's working on a broader goal. So have an agent working on a product feature that would like to explore what impact it would have. It has this data warehouse as a tool, and it can ask 10 different questions to it, get the answers back, combine it with data from, for example, web search, and then put it together to come up with a plan. So wrapping up, an LLM walks into a data warehouse, and if you've done your homework, it might walk out with something useful. Thank you very much.